Hi, it's Christina with the Sisyphean Journal. Today is May 8th. I have already covered one of our safe and legal abortion deaths today when a young woman undergoing an abortion started coughing up blood, so they decided to just give her a paper bag to breathe into. High-tech medical care there. We're going to look at another appalling failure today. It was May 8th of 1989 when a 33-year-old woman named Claudia went to Mercy Medical Clinic in Los Angeles for a safe, legal abortion. When she got there, she reported severe abdominal pain, vaginal bleeding, shortness of breath, and nausea. All clear indications of an ectopic pregnancy, likely even one that has already ruptured. She also reported that she had passed a bloody clump of tissue which she'd brought with her in a jar. Dr. Hosni Naguib Fahmy examined the tissue and determined that it did not contain pregnancy tissue. No fetal parts, no placenta, nothing like that. For some bizarre reason, he attributed Claudia's symptoms to a possible miscarriage in progress, noted that she had low blood pressure and pelvic pain, but instead of checking her hematocrit to see how much blood she'd already lost, maybe sending her straight to the hospital, he performed a first trimester suction abortion. After the procedure was completed, Claudia was alert and ambulatory, but about 20 minutes later, she collapsed. Now, Claudia's boyfriend was in the waiting room during the procedure. Staff told him that everything was okay and suggested that he leave and get something to eat. And this is something I've noticed in these abortion clinics. When the person's having a severe complication, they'll go tell their companion, "Why don't you leave? Just go, you don't need to be here for this." But the boyfriend had heard Claudia screaming earlier, so he decided he was going to stay. Now, several hours after Claudia had first been taken into the patient area out of the waiting room, Claudia's boyfriend heard the doctor come out and tell his staff to call 911, which was about an hour after Fahmy had first examined Claudia. She was taken to a hospital where she underwent emergency surgery for what doctors thought was a perforated uterus, but it turned out, surprise, surprise, it was a ruptured ectopic pregnancy. Efforts to save Claudia were futile and she died later that day. And, in theory, women who choose abortion should be less likely to die from ruptured ectopic pregnancies than women who are intending to carry to term or don't even know they're pregnant, because when you come in, they're supposed to be doing an exam. They're supposed to be doing an ultrasound. After the abortion, they're supposed to be checking, did I get everything? But they don't. And then when the woman's having the symptoms of the ruptured ectopic, that's just after effects of the abortion. Take some Tylenol and she ends up dead. Now, let's look at Fahmy. He actually was held to some degree accountable. Now, according to immigration records, he's a native of Cairo, born in 1931, and came to the United States in 1968. The California Board of Medicine learned of Claudia's death on June 22nd of 1989. So that's 3 years after her death, when they were notified by his insurance carrier that he had settled a malpractice case. Now, Fahmy blamed Harbor UCLA for Claudia's death because they had failed to diagnose the ectopic pregnancy 2 days earlier when she had been there. And he justified his failure to perform an ultrasound and make sure that there was a fetus in the uterus and not off in the fallopian tube somewhere on the fact that the clinic just didn't have one. So he was perfectly willing to endanger women's lives by working someplace that didn't even provide basic equipment. So a 3-year-long investigation finally resulted in the board revoking Fahmy's license for gross negligence, noting that Claudia was showing signs of what they called impending cardiovascular failure, which should have prompted an emergency response rather than a suction curettage. Now, Fahmy appealed and got the revocation reversed and was placed on a 5-year probationary status, required to take a course about pregnancy complications, which you would think as an abortionist he'd already know, but apparently this clinic didn't have standards, and to pass an oral examination on obstetrics and gynecology. He completed his probation, and he is still showing as active on the California Medical Board website. But the only publicly available phone number for his practice is no longer in service. So God willing, this man has hung up his cannula. But I guess the legalization fairy they just skipped him that night.